If you want to learn to create a beautiful, responsive web page like this from scratch in Figma, then keep watching because in this video, we're going to be going through it step by step. These are some more advanced techniques, but once you practice them, you're going to be able to apply them to all of your designs going forward. So without further ado, let's dive in. This is the web page that we're going to be recreating. Here I have the styles that we're going to be using, all of the fonts, colors, copy, and even the imagery that we're going to be using for this site. We have everything we need and we can just focus on making this layout really, really nice and adding some awesome animations. I have my wireframe here to work off of and let's get right into it. For the header of this, I want to use this image here. So I'm just going to drag it over and let's see. That size should already be pretty good. Now we want to first make the navigation. So I'm just going to go over to our copy. This is the menu items we're going to need, and we're also going to need this logo. So I'm just going to copy that over as well. We'll just drag everything in. Now we need to use our text styles here. So let's just head over and look at what those look like. I think like body 1 would be pretty good for these. I'm just gonna copy that here and then we can just double click here so that it shortens the bounding box for us. And we'll just stick this over here for now. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different for this. I'm going to make sure these are both the same color and then let's align them. I'm going to frame them together with Option Command G. Center it, 40 pixels should be pretty good there. And then I actually want to give this whole layer a blending mode of difference. And that's just going to make this logo really stand out and also give this a little bit of like a gradient with the background. So I think that's pretty cool. Might also look nice if this is right aligned since it's along the right side of the page. And maybe we want to give it a little bit more room. So instead of 100 pixels, we'll do 120 of space there. And then we'll want to make sure we have auto layout on so that that change reflects in, the spacing here. So this is going to be in the center of this perfectly. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So now we're going to need a heading. So let's go up. Exploring automotive history is going to be our heading here, but we're going to make it this font Clash Grotesque. We'll do regular, and this text style here is 160 and all caps. I'm going to make this one of our lighter colors so you can really see it. And I'm actually going to separate this out so that they're on different lines and can be sort of manipulated differently. So exploring automotive history. Now here's when I want to turn on our columns because I really want to position these in a way that kind of makes the most sense, which makes me think, I think we need to bring these in a little bit. And since that's not behaving as expected, that means that we need to change this to auto. Perfect. Now there's just an automatic amount of space in between these items, so it actually takes into account the fixed width that we want. Okay, awesome. So now what I want to do, I'm going to position these just how I think they're going to look the best. I think that could be nice. And then we also are going to have a video here that's going to play. So this might sort of change our layout a bit, but we'll see. I want to round the corners on this. Maybe like 20 pixels would be good. Yeah, that's looking really good. And this leaves us a nice amount of space for our text. So I'm just going to go up and see. Here's the text that we want. And I think the text style we want to use for this is going to be the body 1. And we're going to do that same light gray color for this. Make it medium. Let's see what's going to look good. I feel like if we align it there, that would look nice. Now I'm just going to play around with this background photo a little bit. So I'm going to go into crop because I do want to keep it the same like width and height, but I kind of want the car to just be sort of almost driving into the frame. So something like that could be nice. Yeah, I think I like that better. That's good, but I also want some of this darkness to be behind this text so it's easier to read. So I think like, yeah, that works. Then we're just going to go up here to one of our assets. This is just a play button, and we'll stick this right here so that it's clear that this is a video. Okay, now I want to create a section that's actually going to scroll horizontally. So I'm going to hit F on my keyboard for frame. And we're going to make this around like 880 pixels. I'm going to give it a background fill. We'll turn off our columns for now. And let's just bring this outside so we can really kind of see what we're dealing with here. And we'll give it the same background fill. Now, let's look at the content that we're going to need in this section. So here's our content. And like I said, I want these to scroll horizontally. So I want to have like a heading, an image, and this description text. But I want this image to be kind of a unique shape. So let's just see kind of what we can do here. 32 pixel radius will be good. Okay, so I like this shape a lot. Now what we're going to do is head up here and do union selection. So that's just going to make these sort of the same. And then I'm also going to do flatten selection. And that's going to make it so that I can select on these points here and also give them a corner radius. So then it really feels like all one shape. Okay, now let's grab this image and we're going to use this shape as a mask. So I'm going to position it directly over top here, and I'm going to select both and head up to use as mask. Okay, that's looking good. Now, again, with the sort of crop, we can move this around to make sure we're getting all of the parts of the image that we want to include. I think that could look good. Okay, now let's group those together. Okay, perfect. Now we have a perfect amount of space for our heading and our description text. So I'm just going to grab this text. We'll make it this dark blue color from our color palette. We're going to do 1960. So for this, I think our text is going to be a little smaller. Let's do 128. Should be good because I want it to be like within this bounding box. So that's looking really good. And then let's make this all caps. We'll make it medium so it's easy to read, and 18. And then same thing, I want to, make it fit sort of perfectly within this box. Yeah, I think that looks really cool. So now I'm going to frame these together as well. And just so that we can name this, we'll name it year, because we're kind of going to go through a timeline of sorts. So now let's position this back within the site here. And what I want to do is turn back on our columns, because I think I want this to start, at that first column and take up these 9 columns. And then we'll have one column in between these, because we're going to want 3 of them. So now I'm actually going to turn on auto layout here. We need to give it 50 pixels on each side to make up for this little gap here. We'll call this ears. We'll do 140 pixels between each one. And let's paste another one there. So bring it down here so you can see. And now I'm just going to change the content on here. So to switch the mask, it's super easy. I'm just going to click on this picture, do Command C, and then command click inside of here so that I'm selecting on the image that it's masking, and then do command V. So that just sort of pastes it on top of there. And then if you want to clean up your layers, you can go in and delete the one underneath. Okay, I like how this is looking. So now, like I said, we'll bring it back, and we have clip content turned on, which is why you can't see the rest of that frame, which is good. That's what we want. But we will come back when we go into prototype mode and do something special with this so that we can actually do that horizontal scroll. But for now, we'll leave it as is, and let's move on to the next section. So I'm gonna create another frame, position it just below that frame. And I'm actually going to frame all of this together as well. That way we have these individual sections, and that just makes life easier because then we can turn on auto layout here. So we'll call this one hero. We called this one years. And now this one is going to be milestones. Going to take this text style again. And we'll just create our heading. We'll position this in a second. Once we have everything on the page, we can turn back on. But for this section, what I want to do is kind of like a hover effect. So I'm going to have a list of different milestones here, like sort of from the auto industry. And whenever you hover over one of them, it should change an image on the left so that you can actually see an image of kind of what we're talking about here. Let's create the image first. So same thing, I'm just going to have a frame. We'll make it about, you know, the size that we want. Something like this would be good. And I want it to have those rounded edges. Just going to come in with this image here and paste it right inside. So I just cut and pasted it once I clicked on the frame. So I'll call this frame changing image. So just get it kind of how we want. I think something like that would be nice. A little bigger. Okay, perfect. We need to create the component that is going to be sort of the hover text that you're going to hover over to change this image. So, like I've mentioned so many times before in previous videos, it's always better to start with a frame rather than like a rectangle or anything else. So I'm just going to hit F on my keyboard. We're going to create a frame, just an arbitrary size for now, but we'll call this hover list. Okay, so then put my text inside of it. We probably want this to be smaller, like, let's see, what do we have in our text styles over here? Yeah, actually this should be good, this 80. Okay, and so since this is just a component, I'm just going to call this list item, or I'm going to put the text inside as list item, and then we will, on the actual instance level, put in our real content. So I actually want this to go all the way on the sides. I'm going to turn on auto layout here, but I do want this to be a fixed width. So to figure out what we want our fixed width to be, I'm going to turn back on our columns, put this in here, and let's see, I think like sort of this half would be nice. And while we're at it, we can position these how we want them. Could probably even make this a bit longer like this. So that looks like a good width. So we're going to keep it fixed width, but we are going to hug it horizontal or vertically, I should say. And so we need to close this gap a little bit. I think like 32 pixels will be good. And then, like I said, I want this actually on the right. So I'm going to hit this left align button here and make sure that the text itself is left aligned as well. So that's good. Now what I want to do is give this it's kind of just like a border. And then what I want to do is give this a border. So I want it to be this peachy color. We'll do inside and maybe 2. Yeah, 2. But I don't want it on the right and left. So I'm going to come in here And I'm just going to do, I'm just going to do top, custom. I need to do top and bottom. So it's kind of hard to see on here. I'll show you what it looks like on here. If we turn these off. Okay. See, we don't need a background, but see what this is going to look like here. In fact, this text might be way too big. Instead of 80, let's do like 40. I think 32 actually. Yeah, that's better. And then once we have that, we can probably make this a bit smaller too. Like, yeah, 24. I think that's a lot better. We can make this a component. So in order to do that, we can come up to this icon up here, create component. Perfect. And then it's kind of hard to see. So once we give it another property, it's going to give us the opportunity to add like a background to this. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll just go like that. Perfect. So now we have two different states of this. So we'll call this property state default and state hover. So what do we want this to look like when we are hovering over it? Well, instead of just having the border, I think I want this whole field to also have a background color. So we're going to go into fill and give it this background color. So easy. Now I also think I want to make this the medium just so it's easier to read, especially with this sort of background. Okay, so that looks good. In order to set up this sort of hover state, we need to go into prototype mode. And I do this on the component level versus the instance level, because then all of these components that we drag into our file, all of the instances are going to behave the same exact way. So we only have to do this once for it to work across the file. So I'm going to just click on this plus button here and drag it to this instance or to this state. And then on hover or while hovering, change state to hover. So that's easy. Go back into design mode. I'm going to go back and turn on our columns. And we're going to drag in an instance of this and we'll get it all set up exactly where we want it. Okay, perfect. And then I'm just going to duplicate this here. And then once I drag out a copy, I can do Command D to keep duplicating that. I want to group these together in an auto layout. So I'm going to go over here. So I'm just going to select all of these and hit the plus button for an auto layout. So we'll call these list group. I want to have -2 pixels of a gap between these. That way they overlap each other perfectly. So we don't have like an extra thickness in these middle strokes. So that is looking good. Now I just need to go and look at what all of these milestones actually are. So I'm just going to paste these in. Okay, so now we have half of this working. Let's actually test and make sure it is really working. So just go down here. And yeah, as you can see, when we hover over this, it does hover. The only thing I would say is it seems like kind of abrupt. So instead of instant, we can do like maybe smart animate and then ease in and out. Let's see if that helps at all. Yeah, see how that just feels like a little bit more subtle or a little more gradual? I like that. Okay, so that is half the battle. Now we also need to make it so that when we hover over each of these, this image actually changes. And that is a little bit more involved, but it's not too difficult. So I am just going to drag this out here. Let's make the background this light gray so we can really see it. And actually, before we even do that, I forgot to add the subheading that we need. So we'll just make some room for that. We can make this 18, can be pretty small. So for what we want to do here, we actually don't want to have a hover effect on these. So you can go ahead and get rid of that. And what we're going to do is actually make this entire frame a component. So I'm just going to do that. And then we can start to add some different variants here. So we're going to need 5 variants since we have 5 of these line items to hover over. So I'm just going to name it state. We'll call this one Ford, call this one Chevrolet, call this third one Lambo, Porsche, and Jaguar. And now we're going to just set what these states are going to look like. And then we'll actually introduce the hover state to kind of go back and forth in between these. So this is what the Ford one should look like, but we should actually have this at its hover state, you know, whenever you're on this current state. For this one, we want this one to be on hover, and we're going to do a different image here. For this, we want the Lamborghini to be hover. And again, change this image. Same here with the Porsche and the Jaguar. So now we can actually set some hover states between these. So we'll go into prototype mode. And we'll start here. So I'm going to select on this, and we can actually click on select matching layers. So that's going to select on all of the Chevrolet ones here, and that will just make life a little easier for us. So we can unselect this selected one though. So then we can do while hovering, change to state Chevrolet. So then now you can see all of these arrows are pointing to the same one. So we can do that same ease in and out thing. I think that will look nice. And now we just have to do that same exact thing for all of these. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to deselect the hover state one. And then I'm going to add an interaction, hovering, change to the Lamborghini. Perfect. And then I'll just do that for all of the rest. Okay, so now we've got all of these prototyping arrows, and we can see how this actually works. So I'm just going to drag a copy of this into our actual design. We can scooch these out of the way for now. Make sure this is right underneath here, and I'm just going to hit play. Scroll down here, and there we go. That looks really nice. Okay, now let's create another section where folks can sign up to a newsletter. So we're just going to hit F for frame, create this frame here. I think like 600 pixels high will be good for this. And to kind of break up just the plain background, I still want to keep it really simple, but I want to have kind of like a border almost for this. So I'm just going to create a rectangle and do 50 pixels from all sides. I'm going to give it a 32 pixel radius and get rid of the fill, but add a stroke. And we're going to do that same 2 pixel stroke in this sort of mauve color. I think that will look nice. And then we're definitely going to need a headline here, but we'll make this a little smaller, like 80. We'll center it, and we can say sign up to the newsletter. Perfect. Then let's see, what other copy do we need here? There's this copy. So we can make this 18. We'll do medium so it's easier to read. And then Just position it around there. And then we also need a field where someone can actually sign up. So I'm going to frame this, turn on auto layout, give it some spacing on all sides, and then do something similar that we did before, where I'm going to give this a stroke, but just on the bottom. And we'll do that same mauve color in 2 pixels. Maybe for this, we don't need 24. Maybe just like 12 would be good. Yeah, that's looking good. But then we also want to have this arrow so that when someone puts in their email, they actually have somewhere to click. So I'm just going to put that in there. And let's see, I think I do like that blue color, but maybe we just make it a bit smaller. And then maybe we give it an auto, that way we can give it some more space in between there. And now I feel like it does need more space on the bottom. Like, yeah, that's better. So now let's turn on our grid or our columns. That way we can really see what layout is going to look best here. I almost feel like this needs to be bigger, like 24. Okay, so then can make this at least 3 columns. Let's see. I think 3 columns would work, but I kind of feel like, yeah, maybe it needs to be like lined up with this text here. I think that might look better. And then we'll just kind of center this in there. Okay, nice. So then we can turn those off, see what it's really looking like. I think that looks good. And then the only thing that we need now is a real footer. So for this, I'm actually going to change the whole background of this page to that dark blue. We'll change this background to that light gray. And this way we can have just the footer be this sort of background color. And I'm actually going to give this whole frame a 32 radius only on the bottom here. So then it kind of feels like all of these sections are layered over top of like this footer, which I think just looks really, really nice. Might be even easier to see if we boost this up a little bit, just for now. Okay, so then let's see what we need in our footer. We just need this information here. Okay, cool. So I need to make that the light gray so we can actually see it. And same with this. Make this our textiles. We'll do regular for this. And I think right aligned would be nice. Okay. I think this is too big. Let's just make it 18. Even this could probably just be the same size as these, which is also 18. Just make sure there's 50 pixels of space. I want to align this to the bottom here. Okay, awesome. All right, there we go. We are getting there. The last thing that we need to do for this desktop view is make this section here horizontal scrolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this entire artboard. I'm going to go into prototype and we're going to set the scroll behavior. So we're going to say overflow vertical. And it's giving us this exclamation point because right now there's no overflow because we actually have the whole frame with the whole height instead of just having like a viewport like this. So let's do this as our viewport here. And now it's going to be able to scroll, but it's kind of hard to see that way. So I'm going to do unclip content. And then I'm going to go into just this section and go into prototype mode. And now we're going to do scroll with parent. We do want that because we want this whole section to scroll up when we scroll, but overflow should actually scroll, horizontally. And so then what we need to do is the same thing we did before. So now we have this set up perfectly. We can hit play and let's see what this looks like. I'm just going to scroll, and then once I get here, I can scroll horizontally and then vertically. All of that is working great. And there we go. Perfect. So now the last thing we have to do is just make this responsive. So I'm just going to go through and place all of these same elements on this tablet size screen and just show you what I would change for this specific breakpoint. So I'm just going to grab this section here and duplicate it over, and we'll have to see kind of what we're working with here. So I'm just going to make this whole image smaller. I'm going to select on this frame here, and we'll make this smaller as well. And instead of having this full menu, I think we just need to have a menu button there. That way we can actually have a sort of separate menu like you would on mobile. So that itself is pretty good. This logo can probably be a little smaller on tablet. Yeah, that's nice. And then I'm just going to make these a bit smaller as well. So 96. And then turn on those grids so we can really see what we're working with. Just bring back in this video here. We still want to keep this button 40 by 40 because of tappability. So that's good. And then just bring back in this guy here. Now, the last thing I want to do is move around this photo a little bit. So, like I said, I definitely want for this to be in front of the dark background, but I also want to make sure we're seeing this car. So I'm just going to scooch it over like that. I think that should be good. So now for this section, so I'm just going to take these individual guys here. And for this breakpoint, I'm going to stack them on top of each other. So we'll do auto layout and we'll do vertical here. And then we are probably going to have to make these guys a little bit smaller. So we'll start with this image here, and instead of 1000, I'm going to do 700. And we'll make sure this is locked so that the proportions stay the same. So then we'll make this smaller as well. And then turn on auto layout so that hugs. And I'm just going to do the same exact thing for all of these. Okay, now we can just bring this right in. Awesome, I think that looks great. Then put in these milestones as well. So make this 96. Just kind of scooch some things around, really. So we can make this text a little bit smaller, and we can make this photo a good bit smaller too. So maybe what we want to do is actually change this orientation a little bit. So we want these to fill the container so that when we expand and contract it, it will actually kind of follow our cues. And then just gonna make this about that wide. There we go. I like that. Just making sure everything perfectly aligns there. I think that looks good. Now this newsletter section will be super easy too. Just gonna kind of squish it together, and then we can resize everything. So we'll do like 64 pixels for here, and we can make it take up a lot of that room. And then I'm just gonna align these to, let's say, I could probably make this a little smaller and align these each to be 3 columns. Okay, now just do the same thing with the footer, and that means we gotta make this background that dark blue as well. So just make that dark blue. And then we'll just have these here and this on the very bottom. And then you can go ahead and do the same exact thing for mobile. And I'll show you the one thing that I would do a bit differently on mobile for this design. Okay, so I've got all of this designed. Now I just want to show you what I would do differently here. So I'm just going to copy these elements in, and I'm just going to paste them right under here. And this is kind of exactly what I would do. I would stack these. So what I'm going to do is actually make this a little bit wider here. And then we're going to need to make these smaller. So we'll do 18 pixels. And this list group needs to switch to fill container. That way it will just stop at the edge of this here. So you would just do the same exact thing that we did over here on desktop, except instead of using the on hover, you would use on click. So I'll do one quick example, but we don't need to really do the whole thing. So we would take this section and make it a component. And then just like we did before, give it 5 different variants for each of these, and then do the same exact process using on click or on tap because you're using a mobile device. So feel free to try that on your own. There is a source file linked below, so you can go ahead and design this with everything that you learned in this video. If you want to see an even more in-depth look at creating a full responsive e-commerce website in Figma, then make sure to check out my course linked in the description box below. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in a future video.